All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started because we have a decent amount of people here already, and I feel like most people know the spiel. We have a light agenda today. Most individuals that wanted to present were either A, out on vacation, or B, wanted to sign up for the next call, which would be July 3rd. And again, we'll discuss that at the end. But welcome, everyone. If this is your first time joining this call or you're a regular attendee, this is our third, I think, official Adaptive Cloud Community Meetup. My name's Kiana, and then Thomas and myself will be your hosts for the call this day. So like I said, if this is your first time joining the call, welcome. This call is focused on the Adaptive Cloud Community product and service updates. So topics presented range anywhere from Azure Arc to Azure Stack HCI, Azure IoT, AKS. And the presenters today will go over the topics and we'll engage in a Q&A session at the end where we open the floor up to you all to see if you have any questions. You can ask the presenters questions or just have general questions. Feel free to also drop your questions in the meantime in the Q&A section at the top. And as a reminder, this call is non-NDA, so feel free to publicly discuss all the products and services discussed today. And then that kind of gets into my next slide here. I guess I kind of went over that one already. The GitHub slide. So this is our public repository. You all should be able to go and access this now if you would like. Our GitHub page, it acts as kind of our one-stop shop for all of our related meeting links, recordings, Adaptive Cloud resources, calendar invites. So if you want to keep a recurring meeting on your calendar, you'll want to be sure to go to our GitHub and then download the .ics file from there. So to the next slide, this is our Adaptive Cloud Community YouTube. Like I said, all of these calls are recorded. They're edited and then posted to our YouTube. So if you have friends or if you have coworkers that are unable to attend this call but wanted to join today or any previous calls, all of these calls are recorded and they can rewatch everything on our YouTube. Also on that YouTube is some of the Arc Jumpstart Lightning Series videos, so feel free to check those out as well. My colleague Lior hosts those. It does a great job. And then I'm going to go ahead and step to the next slide here. So like I said, this agenda today is pretty light, so we'll probably end a little bit early, but be sure to tune in to next month because there's quite a few individuals that are available to present next month that weren't available this call. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Thomas.
Thank you very much, Kiana. Thank you everyone for joining today. And I think we have quite some awesome stuff even today. Quite a couple of announcements. If you can go to the next slide. I'm going to cover a little bit about Jumpstart. And I hope everyone is already aware what Arc Jumpstart is. But for those who aren't, Azure Arc Jumpstart is really one of our goals to make it very easy to get started and try things out, right? And probably a lot of you are already familiar with some of the Jumpstart stuff we are doing. With like the different scenarios, or for example, HCI box, which allows you to deploy a virtual instance of Azure Stack HCI in Azure without buying the hardware or anything, and then just trying it out to basically play around with it, see it, understand it, and just get to know it, right? And then we have that for a ton of different scenarios around Azure Arc, IoT, and so on. And we had a couple of new announcements even. So we have added a couple of stuff. We announced Jumpstart Drops, which I go into a little bit to explain it. But then we also have Sanders here. We'll actually show how this community is actually helping bringing Azure Arc Jumpstart Drops to life. And then I'll also talk a bit about Jumpstart Agora for manufacturing, which was also an announcement we had at Microsoft Build. I think it's like 2 weeks ago, correct me if I'm wrong, where we talked about this and announced these two things. So Kiana, if you can move to the next slide, I will make it easy because I'm going to quickly show you then Jumpstart Drops and Jumpstart Agora. So, but just to summarize a little bit what you can find there. Obviously, Jumpstart, again, has these different types of scenarios I mentioned. We have offerings like Arc Box, which gives you a Azure Arc demo environment in your own Azure subscription without the need of hardware or anything like that. We have the HCI box, which I just mentioned. And then we have Jumpstart Agora, which allows you to go through industry-specific scenarios and gives you demo apps as well and demo scenarios. And then Jumpstart Drops, which we basically built to make it very easy for everyone here to contribute to that as well. And then it's a part of like not just these documentation parts, right? These automation parts, but then also we have our YouTube channel. We have a lot of demos and sample applications you can use. And then obviously the whole community behind it. And what we also see is a lot of interest in the Azure Arc diagrams, right? So if you need to have technical diagrams to understand how these things work, that's another part of Jumpstart. But let's have a quick look at the announcements here and the Arc Jumpstart page, right? So I hope, again, most of you are actually familiar, and I hope you can see my screen. Let me know if that's the case. Someone can give me a thumbs up here before I walk through it. Good. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Perfect. Thank you very much. So this is, if you go to arcjumpstart.com, this is the page. Hello.
Thomas, I'm not sure if it's just me or if other folks are experiencing the same, but the screen that you're sharing is black on my end. I don't know if others are experiencing the same.
It's okay on my end.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's
it's just a normal.
It's just a me problem.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. Sorry, Kiana. Okay. Sorry for you, but I'm sure you know the Arc Jumpstart page. So I guess it's going to be fine. Again, let me know if anyone else has problems with it. But for those who don't, that's great. So again, this is the Arc Jumpstart web page. I hope everyone already saw it. If not, this is a great place to go. If you scroll down, you will see the different things I just talked about, like Jumpstart scenarios, Jumpstart Agora, and so on. And again, if you're not familiar with the Jumpstart scenarios, here you can basically go and find like, okay, we have our different products, right? Like, for example, Arc-enabled servers, which Arnulf will talk a little bit later about, but then you can actually go through these different scenarios, like, for example, onboarding or managing this, depending on where these servers are running. For example, if I deploy servers in AWS, right, we have a different kind of like ways to onboard these, for example, and then you can basically find out how that works, and you get all the goodness of automation here as well. So this is the thing which Jumpstart really started with. But as promised, we're going to talk about those two things. So the big announcement, I think, at Build was Jumpstart Drops. And Jumpstart Drops really helps us to share these different kind of like tools and automation, right? And this is also where actually the community comes in. I mentioned this. So where you can actually go in and basically share your own information as well. So that can be, for example, scripts, automation. And again, we're going to have Sander sharing one of these drops just in a bit and go more deeply and showing what's all possible, what he did for these different things here. So here you can see the list, those cards, those are basically different drops, right? So you have different things here, like for example, the Azure Stack HCI infrastructure as code template examples, and have many, many more here. If you scroll down, you have like filters where you can actually look at different things and figure out, okay, this is what I need. Let's have a look at this one. So it opens up this card and basically gives you an information what it is. You can also then see the prerequisites to actually use this to set up your environment, what you actually need. And then you have the getting started part where you can go through. And in this case, for example, just explains like how you can use a infrastructure as code template basically to deploy Azure Stack HCI. So it goes through, it has print screens, and this is just one great way of documentation. Then obviously you have the whole template itself, but there's much, much more possible than just this, right? So we can't wait for the community to actually contribute, to share scripts and tools they build, but share it with the community here as well. And again, you can create a new drop, and this will open up a schema on GitHub for now. And then you can actually use that and build your drop there and share it. And then it will go back into the Azure Arc Jumpstart page. But then later on, there will be also a wizard actually helping us, making it more easy even to share your own drops in that sense. And I'm sure like from the people here in the call, probably you're familiar with like, I think it was called TechNet Script Center and things like that. So I remember these on the old days, right, where we actually had the community contributing, sharing the scripts. Back then it was mostly about Windows and Windows Server. And this is really a great way of doing that for the cloud and the edge scenarios as well. So we really can't wait. And again, Sanders is going to share more about this in just a bit. But then let's also have a look at the Agora announcement. So again, as we know, obviously a lot of customers have different scenarios they want to address, different challenges they want to address, and specific industry needs, right? And so in this case, we're really going through for these cloud and edge scenarios. We have already one for retail, but then the big one we announced for at Microsoft Build is the one for manufacturing. So it goes through, it's actually called Contoso Motors, and there's a great session at Build going through this scenario as well, like showing this as a demo, which you can use. If you go that, it describes the scenario, right? You can find those technology stacks here as well. What's going on here? What do we actually deploy with your demo applications and so on? For example, this one has then also the deployment guide and how you set this up in your environment. So if you want to show this for a customer or within your company, this is absolutely a great way of doing that. So with that, again, there's much more in Jumpstart. Please check it out if you haven't already. And hopefully you can also contribute to drops. And for that, no further ado, I want to give the word to Sander, who has created one of these drops, which is absolutely amazing. And he will tell you a little bit more about this in just a bit.
Well, thank you, Thomas, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Here it is. Actually, it's not one, but 3 drops, which will be introduced. But first, something about me. I'm Sanne van der Velde. I'm living in the Netherlands. I'm working as a IoT architect for Alten, the Netherlands. But I'm also a Microsoft MVP, and you become a Microsoft MVP as an award for all your community contributions. In my case, I love Azure IoT, so I started blogging, giving presentations, sharing code samples. I gave feedback to the product groups, and that at some point in time I got an invite of a congratulations, you're awarded for the Microsoft MVP. And that's back in 2017. And some stuff that I do with IoT is stuff that I already did in 2017. But last year, Microsoft introduced a new service, which is the Azure Event Grid namespace with MQTT support. And MQTT is a protocol which is great for IoT devices. And I looked at the samples, and there's lots of documentation. But what I was missing was a sample of programming against that cloud service with a $8 device. And I'm not that much of an embedded programmer. I'm more of a cloud guy. But I can do the Nano framework, which is nothing more than running C# on embedded devices, constrained devices, like the ESP32. So with some tinkering, I got it working, and well, hey, let's write a blog post about it and share the code so other guys, everybody can start working with that. And while I was testing this and I was working with this, I said, yeah, the Azure Event Grid has a nice portal, but it's not really clear to me which topics are used by which devices, because the MQT broker is a vanilla broker, so you can come with every topic you want, but it also constrains clients using client groups and permission bindings and topic spaces to pinpoint which topics can be used by which clients. So I started tinkering with the SDK that was available, and I found out that it was almost all there except for that client group versus client solution. For that, a query is used, so I had to build my own parser for that query. It's not complete. It does the job for almost every case, but not all of them. But again, I had a starting point that I now have an oversight of which clients have access to which topics, either as a publisher or as a subscriber. And yeah, well, why not share that also in a GitHub repository? And then I was thinking, well, now I know the device can connect and I can see which topics are used, but which topics are actually used by the broker. And for the IoT Hub, we have something called the IoT Explorer, which is great, which gives me access to devices having, and I can see the messages flowing through the IoT Hub. And that was not available for the MQT broker in the event grid. So why not try to figure out and do this myself? So I start programming, and with some topic magic, there's a wildcard called hashtag, which gives you access to all the topics. Yeah, with that, I got it working. So there's a little bit of tinkering on how to get it started, but it's all documented here in the README, and there's source code available. And if you want to contribute, you're welcome. But on the other hand, all the stuff that I do is only there in GitHub. And then I was invited by the product team to say, hey, we have that new Azure Jumpstart Drops. Can you help us out? And can you give them some content? And I said, yes, of course. I have some content. So I started to share my community contributions here in our Jumpstart Drops. So we see the event grid namespace client and topic combination. We see the Nano framework support, and we see even the visualization with that Explorer. And if we look at it, we see that this looks a little bit like what we've seen. Let me check that out here on the README. What we see here is actually what we see here. If I go to these, we see the same stuff. Actually, this page, this detail page, is nothing more than what is shown here. So if I have a typo or I have some new contributions, the drop is, well, it adjusts itself automatically. But how did I had to add these drops? Is that hard? Well, if you know a little bit like from GitHub, it's not that hard. It's nothing more than just a pull request to the Azure Arc Jumpstart Drops repository. And here we have a pull request. And if I look at it, I only, let me make it a little bit larger. I just pushed this file. I make it available as a pull request, and it's nothing more than I have to submit a title, the summary, the description, the author, which is me, and the source of the repo, and some tags like the type, the difficulty, and the programming language that I used. It's 10 fields that you have to fill in. It's a JSON file. You submit it. If it's accepted, it's added. Nothing more, as easy as that. Well, there's one more thing about the format. That can you fill in? For that, there is a documentation available with the schema. So if you take 5 minutes to read this, you're good to go. I know that for sure. So with that, adding a drop in our Jumpstart Drops is easy. And by the way, they are working on a wizard where you fill in all the stuff within the portal, and that will end up as a drop submission. It's not there yet. At this moment, we have to do it with the JSON, but well, hey, that's not that hard. We can do that. And with that, what do you earn? Well, first of all, I now know how many people are actually downloading my repos, and I can see how many people are interested in the drops that I submit. With that, also Microsoft has access to that information and say, hey, that's interesting. Everybody is looking for that Explorer. Maybe we have to build it into the Azure portal, which would be great. And last but not least, it's the eternal fame and glory that you get by having your drop here in this portal. So with that, thank you. And over to you, Kiana.
Thanks, Sander. I will go ahead and start sharing my screen again, and we'll pass it over to Azure Arc servers. Give me 1 second.
Awesome. That was super neat to see. I actually haven't seen the Jumpstart drops yet. That was really, really neat, Sandra. Thank you for sharing. And it's so
You're
exciting
welcome.
to see like all the community contribution, especially in the IoT space. So that was exciting. I'll just provide some quick updates from the server side for the broader community here. And so this is just what's latest with Arc Server and some of kind of sneak peek of what's coming up. So with our latest agent version, a lot of our focus has been really on quality and fundamentals. You'll see almost in our agent release notes, just like a laundry list of fixes across different networking, region, OS support, etc. issues. So that's really where we've been focused. A handful of things to just call out. One is we do have this certificate-based authentication is now supported when you're using your SPN to connect or disconnect the agent. And so we included docs for that. Also, we are now checking the SQL Server endpoints, which we know has been a key ask for customers, including supporting the local privilege model, local role model as well. So that really restricts the kind of necessary credentialing in order to use the SQL Server extension for Arc. And so that's in public preview, but we're making that a default as well. And the final piece we wanted to call out is that the intermediate certificate requirement for extended security updates, which we know has caused some problem for customers, is now dropped. So if you're on agent 1.40, so not this agent version, but the last one, and you have the April SSU update, you no longer need to download any intermediate certs for getting your Windows Server 2012 extended security updates. So we know that that's a key ask from a lot of our customers and partners. A handful of things we wanted to call out. One is we do have upcoming, and it's going to be announced in preview quite soon, a volume licensing to ESU transition scenario through Arc. So if you've already purchased ESUs through volume licensing for year one, but now you want to switch to our pay-as-you-go Azure Arc supported version of ESUs, we're going to have a transition offer. So you don't have to repurchase year one. You'll simply attest to your invoice ID for year one. And by providing that, we're only going to bill you year two forward, and you'll get to be able to switch from VL to Arc. So that's coming soon, actually within this month and next month as well. The other exciting thing we wanted to continue sharing is run command continues to be in public preview. So again, that allows you to remotely configure your servers and run your scripts. And so with that, we actually don't just have the REST API support, we have CLI support officially there as well, making that easier to use. That's in Portal, where you can see our kind of docs as well. So we look forward to kind of supporting those run command scenarios. And again, we're continuing to engage with customers there. So if you have feedback for our run command capabilities, feel free to reach out to us with that run command public preview form. With that, those are the main updates we had for folks. The other thing to note is, we are reducing some of those networking endpoint requirements. So keep looking in terms of our networking requirements page. We're excited for announcements there. And the other thing we wanted to share is we typically have a monthly agent release, but we will be skipping the June agent release. So the next agent release will be in July with all of our focus on security and fundamentals. We're also going to be publishing a security white paper and detailed security guidance this month. So we're excited for that as well. So that's the main updates we have from the Arc server side. If you have any questions, Arc server related or priorities or requests, feel free to email me and we'll try to get you supported. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Arnav. Hey, by the way, there was just a question in the chat, since we already have you on, about the Arc server, about the certificate-based authentication. And the question was, for the certificate-based authentication for connected machine agent, will there be a similar experience on generating the script in the Azure portal as we know today? For example, add single server, add multiple servers, etc.
Yeah, so my understanding is we won't be changing the default script for Portal, but we will be this is documented so you can make the modification to the script on your own.
Awesome, thank you. I think hopefully that clarified. Perfect.
Thanks.
All right. Since we're about finished here, just wanted to state that our next call is Wednesday, the 3rd of July, at the same time, same place, and I'll be posting the meeting invite in the chat shortly for that call. And then without further ado, if there's any further questions, feel free to raise your hand, feel free to unmute yourself for all of the presenters today. If you have any general questions as well, feel free to also ask here. Now's the time.
Hey, it's Dale. I was gonna type this out in the chat. I saw Scott Cameron. Hey, Scott, great to talk to you. He asked the question about license portability for VMware. I think it's a great question. We just had the announcement of the VMware existing customers with existing VMware licenses can now have those transferred and used on AVS. I think, which is an awesome option, and I think it just gives us another tool when we're working with customers that are kind of having what I like to call Broadcom pain or Broadcom challenges. Just gives them another option when kind of exploring what they have in front of them in terms of moving away from VMware entirely and landing on another platform, or moving to something like to AVS. So that's kind of my perspective on how we can leverage that announcement with customers.
Hey, Dale, just one clarification on that. By the way, I think it's fantastic news. It's only for clients that have VCF licensing from Broadcom. So there are four total different licensing packages that the clients can consume, but they have that VCF package is the only one that has the licensing portability.
Yep, makes sense.
Hey, Dale, the Zilan, that licensing portability, the customer should be on the new licensing model, right? Not on the time of a renewal or something like that. Is that correct?
So I think what you're asking is, like, if they're coming up for renewal, I don't think we would want to have them purchase new VMware licensing and then move to AVS. They could just get that directly through AVS. So yeah, this would be for customers with existing, not expiring in the near term VCF licensing.
Got it. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
I know someone had a question, I believe it was Harith. I'm not sure if your question was related to that or if the hand accidentally went down, but.
Yeah, no, I had a question in terms of landing zones. So when you come to build out your Azure Arc servers and your Azure Arc SQL databases and servers, is there any guidance on I've seen guidance around resource management, but do you recommend that these reside in their own subscriptions, or is it a case of that having them under the typical management subscription on the platforms is suitable? Where do people normally place Azure Arc resources?
Yeah, this is a great question. Oh, go ahead.
No, you please go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say from the server side, and I think you mentioned server and SQL Server. We've seen a couple of different topologies. sometimes customers will organize and their different kind of servers and group them based off of application or based off of organizational unit or business unit. And so they'll put the different kind of servers that are used by almost workload into the different subscriptions. And so we see that as a common topology. Another one is because you might be taking, your private data centers and mapping them. Each of the data centers or kind of regions are also going to map to your subscription or resource group. And sort of the third flavor we've seen is if there's kind of delineation for use case, we often have like the security focused one log A workspace versus a more of an infrastructure focused workspace separated out. So there's a couple of different topologies you can use. All of those are supported. And so we typically we've documented these different methods you can use, but we've seen customers kind of pick and choose which one works best. And the other thing to note is the server resource can be moved between resource groups fairly easily and within subscriptions. I believe even region moves are supported across server and SQL Server. So if it's not in day zero, you're landing where you kind of want it to be in your topology, you can always reorganize based off of your environment or workload needs in day two as well.
Okay, thank you.
This is Dylan here again. I have a different question. On the Azure Stack HCI, the 23H2, do we know when SDN integration will happen? That is my first question. The second question is, do we have the time frame for AKS supportability on the 23H2 SDN? These are all my two questions.
I believe on the 23H2 when SDN will be available. I don't think we have shared a specific or date yet on this. I'm just trying to look up the latest blog post we did. I remember we announced a couple of high-level roadmap items for this. So I will need to double check on how we talked about this. But I don't think we have publicly talked about the roadmap for the SDN part. However, we agreed that this is coming, but I don't think we have a date or to share. And then for the second question, can you repeat the second one? I haven't.
So AKS integration with the SDN, Thomas.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we're obviously waiting for the SDN to arrive, and then the AKS piece on that will happen then with this, I guess. Again, I don't think we have shared any public timelines about this yet. But I'm sure you can maybe drop me an email or connect with me, and then I will try to figure out what we can share on this specifically, or as soon as we have an update on this.
That will be great, Thomas. And this is for a specific customer named Safthian. Okay, so what they are asking is they have a SDN requirement. Assuming if they can do it using the SDN Express in the 23H2, which again will not be able to use the resource bridge. But if they continue doing that, when the SDN is available with 23H2 and the AKS is fully integrated, will there be a mitigation plan? Will there be like a white paper or something will be created for that? Because customers' concern is how difficult it is going to be if they adopt the SDN Express now and mitigate that later.
Yeah. I will need to check with where we are on this, to be honest. We had talks a couple of months back, but I don't know the outcomes of these. Yeah, so let's take this offline, and I will see what that we can actually go and connect with the SDN team there to maybe get some stuff out there.
Sure, thank you. I'll drop a note to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions or any other topics that anyone wanted to bring up?
Yeah, just one other question around the license portability onto AVS. So we're currently looking at procuring AVS in the next sort of month or so, and our VMware licenses do expire end of July. And I think we're on a subscription-based license at the moment, but Is there now an option that when you procure AVS that you don't need to procure a license with it? Is that what the announcement is? Because you can port your VCF licenses.
Hey, it's Dale again. I put the announcement that which was just 6-8 days ago in the chat here. Kiana, keep me honest. I don't know if we have any SMEs on this particular topic on the call for that. I could be wrong. Happy to be wrong there. There might be a better venue for answering these kind of questions, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have anyone, particularly on this call, that would know. If there is, speak up.
Well, we will need to check. I mean, we can check that with the AVS team. I don't think anyone is in the call from them.
I can probably check with our account manager. It's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for your question. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Alrighty. If you did have a question and you or if you have a question later and it didn't come to you now, and you're reflecting on this meeting, feel free to join our Teams chat, and you can submit your question through there. And you can also connect with us through our GitHub page. And then if you have any specific topics that you would like to see covered within our calls in the future, feel free to submit some feedback visiting that link there, the second link. But if there's nothing else, thank you everyone for joining today, and we will see you all again in, I guess, almost a month.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.